GOP House Majority Whip Tom Emmer is here now. Congressman, it's so great to have you. You're so key to these discussions because you're the guy who counts the votes, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But again, yesterday, we heard President Biden talking about this 14th Amendment deal, which the progressives have been talking about. And of course, it has been dealt with in the past through the Supreme Court that the president cannot issue new debt on his own authority. But they're claiming bringing up the 14th Amendment, which, after all, was meant to deal with Civil War issues, post-Civil War issues. They're again bringing that up to the floor. Here's, by the way, what the 14th Amendment says about the debt. The validity of the public debt of the U.S. authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for service in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, that's the Civil War part of the whole thing, shall not be questioned. How much further do you think they're going to push for this 14th Amendment?
David, it's great to be with you. The thing that's more disturbing about whether the 14th Amendment's in play or not, which clearly it's not. Janet Yellen said it would bring on a constitutional crisis. Other constitutional scholars have pointed this out. The Biden administration has even acknowledged previously that the 14th Amendment isn't an option. So the fact that they're bringing it up now, or somebody is, David, suggests that they're exactly where they've been for more than 100 days, and that is with no ideas whatsoever in order to get the debt ceiling done. Unlike Kevin McCarthy and the House Republicans, who passed a bill now more than a month ago to deal with this crisis and get things resolved, protect the American people.
Well, let's talk specifically. Say that there is some deal, that they forget about the 14th Amendment, that they do come to some agreement, the president and McCarthy, and they're going to be talking later on. How many Republicans can you afford to lose if there's some kind of compromise between McCarthy and Biden on a bill that gets agreed to by the Senate? You are going to lose some, probably. How many can you afford to lose and still get a bill that passes?
Well, David, let's go to this first. There's only one proposal out there, and that's the proposal, eminently reasonable, passed by House Republicans and Kevin McCarthy. The president hasn't seen fit to stay in the country and deal with this problem. And now the Senate isn't even here. They should be taking the bill up and passing it. So before we talk about something that's not happened, these discussions, if you can call them that, over the last couple of weeks, have basically yielded nothing. And we've got a president who's more interested in going out to lunch with a vice president and doing foreign trips rather than focusing on this immediate crisis here at home.
There will have to be a compromise, and that's what politics is all about in the United States. It's predicated on the idea of compromise. You won't get everything. What can you afford to lose? And particularly, there's a lot of talk about the work requirement, the welfare work requirement that President Biden was for at one time. Apparently, he's not for it this time. What can you afford to lose from the Republican side?
Well, again, David, I understand your frustration, but Republicans have passed an eminently reasonable bill. It's not about what Republicans are willing to lose. It's what is President Biden and this administration willing to give? What are they going to do not only to protect the debt ceiling crisis, but to put this country on a better path when it comes to our spending reforms, David? That's the issue. We're spending $1.29 for every dollar we're bringing in. Republicans are asking to raise the debt ceiling. We did $1.5 trillion in return for some very reasonable transformational spending reforms, including those work requirements, which are very modest for able-bodied, working-aged adults without dependents.
Let me get specific, though, about the vote counting for last question here, because our Chad Pergram, who knows he counts votes almost as well as you do, sir, he says that there are likely 20 to 40 Republicans who won't be happy with any kind of compromise, will vote no. If there's anything less than 180 GOP votes, there will likely be a vacate the chair vote on Speaker McCarthy himself. Could he be up for another speaker vote again if that happens?
Listen, Kevin McCarthy's leadership yielded an incredible win with the debt ceiling bill that was passed more than a month ago, David. The administration, Wall Street, nobody thought Republicans could do that. We did. We're the only ones that have provided a solution to avoid default. It is now up to the president to come to the table and make some real strides to try and address this issue. And once that happens, then we can have that discussion.
Well, but I would like to just suggest that if there is a real negative version of this bill from the perspective of the Freedom Caucus and other Republicans. Could there be a vacate the chair motion?
Hey, I'm going to trust the Speaker's judgment on what he's doing right now. We'll see what the President comes back to him. I have a feeling if the President tries to stonewall more, it's been over 100 days, Kevin McCarthy's going to suggest to him, tell Chuck Schumer to take the bill up in the Senate. Let's avoid this crisis and let's get back to business here in Washington, D.C.
See what happens. What a pleasure to have you on, sir. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, David.